days ahead. So very welcome. You're all very welcome to this information session for the Caribbean Oxford Initiative Visiting Fellowships and Travel Grant Scheme. We're going to take you, this is how we're going to go. We're going to take you through some general information about the program. And then after that, we are going to be taking some questions because this is mostly about, interacting with potential applicants. If you have any doubts after the information that we have given you, please just write in the box any questions that you might have, and I will be fielding them in the order that they arrive, or hopefully I will suss that out. I will make sure to do that. And again, for those of you who have joined, my name is Maria Blanco. I'm the academic lead for CaribOx, and I'll let Bryony introduce herself again.
Hello, welcome everybody. I'm Bryony Varnum and I am the CaribOx Programme Officer. So it's my role to help look after the potential applicants, the fellows while they're visiting Oxford, to make sure that they can maximise the most out of their stay, and also to build and establish a CaribOx research network.
Thank you, Bryony. So I'm going to now start flipping some slides. So if I think you can see this next slide here, just again to give you my our information. This is Bryony, who you just met. I'm here on the left with slightly shorter hair. And in the middle is Dr. Ambara Khalidi, who is the International Officer for Torch. This is the Oxford Research Centre in the Humanities. She's currently on maternity leave, but she is a member of the team at Torch and somebody who was, who was responsible for helping us set up all the administration and all the different details for CaribOx, and we're very grateful to her. And she will be somebody who may pop up as a name if you are entering the CaribOx application process. So that's us as an introduction. Okay, so let me just, some of you might be familiar with this. I'm sure that if you've received the invitation to this webinar, you have been looking at CaribOx and what we are and what we're aiming to do. So CaribOx is an incredibly young program. We kicked this off exactly a year ago. We have had one class of visiting fellowship holders and travel grant holder. This all happened, this has been happening this year. But it is essentially that. It is a visiting fellowship and travel grant program that is going to help bring scholars from the Caribbean, from Caribbean institutions, to work here at the University of Oxford in the United Kingdom. And at the moment, we have had 2 visiting fellows and 1 travel grant holder. But the good news about the next round for the 2026 class is that we're going to have 2 visiting fellowships and 2 travel grants. We are open to all disciplines. So even though, Torch, as I have just mentioned, the Oxford Research Centre in the Humanities is based in the Humanities Division at Oxford, we want to ensure that that all disciplines will be represented. Anybody from any discipline who has the qualifications is welcome to apply to the CaribOx program. And how do we ensure that everybody gets an equal look into? Well, basically, we have a panel, we have a steering committee within the University of Oxford comprised of academics who are from all kinds of disciplines, from the physical sciences to the medical sciences, humanities, social sciences. So we're all nicely represented. Very important information. If you're here, we are now, it's the 3rd of July. Our deadline for applications is slightly different from the deadline that we had last year. It's the 19th of September. 2025, and there will be a hard deadline of 5 p.m. British Standard Time. So please keep that in mind. We will not be taking applications beyond that 5 p.m., which will be at noon in the Caribbean. I'm going to keep moving, but of course, just write down any questions that you might have as we go along. So for the visiting fellowships, we have a set of, apologies. Let me see. I hope that you can all see that. We have a set of requirements. You will need to be affiliated, you will be affiliated with the University of Oxford while you're here. But the here is what's interesting. It's 12 months, starting from January 2026 all the way till December. But what we intend to build into that is a 10-month-long virtual engagement with the University of Oxford and with the resources available at Oxford. And then there's going to be a 2-month in-person visit to Oxford during what we call Trinity term, which is our final term of the year. And that's between the 26th of April to the 20th of June. So what you have to think of is that the fellowships are bookended by this virtual stay in Oxford. And then in the middle, you are going to, you will visit Oxford and you will work here in Oxford. Accommodation and is provided, and also there's also meals included. This is all happening through All Souls College, which is one of the constituent colleges of the University of Oxford. And they also have accommodation, and this year they have been able to provide very good accommodation for the visiting fellows while they're here during that 8-week visit in the Trinity term. Very, very importantly is that for the visiting fellowships, the application will require an Oxford collaborator. And an Oxford collaborator is somebody who is employed by the University of Oxford. Hopefully, somebody whose research you identify as being important for a fruitful exchange, and somebody who is basically going to show you the ropes around Oxford and also bring you into the different departments or different faculties where they work. So they will be your connector to the wider Oxford community. But I should also say that there are also many ways of basically knowing Oxford. You will have the team, Bryony, myself, members of Torch, of the Research Centre in the Humanities, who will be helping you with kind of the logistics, with lots of things about just being in Oxford. We will also try to connect you with other academics that we believe would be really interested in hearing more about your work, and you would be interested in collaborating with. So there's different layers of support that you will get, but the Oxford collaborator is very important for the application process, which we will go into in a sec. Eligibility, you have to hold, for the visiting fellowships, you must be a holder of a doctorate or equivalent, and you need to have an established research profile. And that's incredibly, I need to underline the established research profile, because we will ask you for a full CV, and we just want to, we want to see how research active you are. And, we are looking for people who are research active. Also, we ask that applicants are employed by an academic institution based in the Caribbean. And we have in our FAQs, our frequently asked questions on the website, we have a list of what islands and what territories we are looking to accept applications from. Okay, so I'm going to move along. This is one of the biggest questions that we have received in the past, and it's Oxford collaborators. How do you connect? What is involved in that? Well, the Oxford collaborator is somebody who needs to be part of the University of Oxford, who's fully employed by the University of Oxford. So we ask that when you are searching, we ask that you go into the University of Oxford website and just identify individuals. And please do look to see if they are here and what kind of contract, because we want somebody who's going to be here for the duration of your time at Oxford. We ask that applicants make contact with an Oxford collaborator before applying, because the collaborator needs to submit a letter of support, a brief statement of support on your behalf. And we, like I said before, it's just very important that the two of you have some kind of some kind of shared research questions, research interests. And even if they don't align exactly, everybody has very distinctive research profiles. you know, it's just, we want some kind of touching point that is convincing and that we think would spark a really interesting conversation and a collaboration between you and that other person. And here we have a picture of one of our current award holders, Brandon Bethel, and that's his own collaborator. And it was really wonderful. In the first round of applications, we saw some real support, you know, people who were just really in Oxford who were very grateful for having been contacted, and were, you know, they had great conversations in the lead up to the application submission, and then we were able to read that as a panel. Assessment criteria. What are we looking for in these applications? Well, one, we are looking at the quality of the research proposal, and that seems pretty broad. But we want to see how people speak about their research, how convincing their research is. I also should say that this is basically the way that we have to write application grants now. It's like, you know, you're going to have a panel of experts and non-experts. So how do you convey your research in a way that is intelligible to people outside of your immediate research area? We also are very interested in knowing what Oxford will do, why Oxford as an institution for you to come to. What is it about this institution? What is it about the libraries? What is it about the laboratories that is really, really fundamentally important for your research project, for the furthering of your research proposal? So the fit with Oxford has to be part of how you're thinking about the application. As we said previously, there needs to be a statement of support by an Oxford-based research collaborator. This needn't be pages upon pages. It could just be a one side of, you know, one paragraph, 2 paragraphs that really kind of convey the fact that the collaborator and the applicant have conversed, that they are in agreement, that this is a good idea to move forward, and perhaps an idea of how they will collaborate during those 12 months of exchange. We also want to see in your proposal some potential outcomes. Do you see a future to the collaboration that you establish within Oxford? And, you know, you can be concrete. You can also be a little bit blue skies thinking about that. We are also very interested in hearing from people across different career stages. So we do understand that somebody who's quite early in their career might sound that application is going to look a bit different from somebody who's quite mid to later career. So we just want to also have a sense of where this research project sits within your career trajectory. And it also is very useful for us to know if you have been looking at other sources of funding from bodies within the UK, but also outside the UK, just to see what else you could be eligible to apply for. And in some cases where we were not able to award something, we haven't been able to award a visiting fellowship to someone, we can invite people to apply for other schemes that we might know about. The travel grants are a little bit different. They are shorter term opportunities for people from the Caribbean. It's 2 to 4 weeks, and it is an in-person visit to Oxford during term time. And we really recommend Trinity term, again, that period between April and June, because it's really great to bring the 4 people together, the visiting fellowship holders and the travel grant holders. And this is an opportunity for people to have funding, to come to Oxford, but also to see Oxford as a kind of base for other things that they can do in the UK. They can attend conferences in Oxford or elsewhere in the UK. They can make trips to libraries or archives. A university card, I should say, is going to be made available to visiting fellows, but also to the travel grant holders. The university card kind of opens doors to the hundreds of libraries across the Oxford system. And that university card is valid for 1 calendar year, which means that the travel grant holders will be able to access online resources that are available in the Oxford University library system, which is called the Bodleian. And I think if you speak to our current travel grant holder, Nikisha Spencer, she said that 1 year university card is really helping her out, because it is, it's just, we have collections that are really, really important for the furtherance of her research project. So what is the eligibility for the travel grants? Well, we are open to doctoral students applying for this, but also all the way to mid-career people. And they need to be enrolled or employed by an academic institution based in the Caribbean. Again, this is not too dissimilar from the visiting fellowships, but we are assessing according to the quality of the research proposal, but also because it is a shorter term visit, we really want to see some evidence of how that travel grant is going to contribute to the kind of success of your research project and your research objectives. So the matching between your project and the Oxford, what Oxford has to offer, that has to be quite in sync. So please keep that in mind. We need to see a demonstrated benefit to what this visit will do to your research. And we'd like to know where you're thinking of taking that research, what the outcomes are going to be, especially this is obviously a short visit, but we want to see how this will also feed into a longer term research development plan. Like with the visiting fellowships, we also will take account of what other research funding you are applying for. And again, if we are able to suggest or point you in the direction of other grants, we will do so. Okay, so I am going to just stop sharing here, and I'm going to start reading my questions. I have 5 at the moment. Right. I have a question from Denzel saying, would there be opportunities during the visit to present our research or organize discussion sessions, etc.? Well, absolutely. One of the plans that we have set in place is that when the visiting fellow comes, they are going to give a brief talk as part of a CaribOx research showcase. And we had a very successful event, and we invite people from all over the university to come hear your research, about your research, but also you will have an opportunity to present your research at the department or faculty where you are based. And I will also say that we are very happy to plan some bigger events, perhaps more public-facing events for the different CaribOx fellows. So absolutely, there will be an opportunity to present in several different kinds of forums. I hope that answered your question. Right. I see that, wait, the chat is disabled. I hope that is fine. More questions. Does CaribOx have any structured follow-up support or an alumni network to help maintain collaborations and partnerships after we return home? Well, I mean, we have an alumni class of a year. We just launched this project. So we have the visiting fellows and the travel grant holders that we had this year would be the first group of people who have held CaribOx fellowships and travel grants. And we are absolutely willing and very much looking forward to building an alumni base. And we also are very much encouraging kind of a sustainability of a collaboration. And we are going to be looking at ways in which the collaborators and their faculties and the CaribOx visiting fellows will be, how the conversation keeps going between them. But you have to watch this space. Again, we're a very recent phenomenon in the Oxford ecosphere. I'm just looking at another question. Could you clarify whether successful applicants are matched with a specific Oxford department or host researcher, or if it's expected that we identify? So like I said in the presentation, you should please, what we ask is that you get to know Oxford. We need to know that Oxford, that you have assessed how valuable Oxford can be for you. And we also ask that you look into the faculty that is, closest to your own research area. And we ask that you get in touch with a potential collaborator. Now, if the collaborators are a bit slow in getting in touch with you, we're very happy to help you see if we can also add a little bit of pressure. I would also just think, have 2 or 3 people in mind that you might want to collaborate with, and please just, contact them directly and tell them that you are interested in the CaribOx scheme, which has just been launched. We have been trying our hardest to make everybody in the university know as much about CaribOx as possible. And you'll be surprised, people are very willing to and very open to hearing from people who are interested in CaribOx. So please, yes, identify perhaps 2 or 3 people, write them, and the CaribOx team, that's Bryony or myself, will help you, make that conversation happen if things are moving a bit slowly. You don't need collaborators for the travel grants. So that's I hope good news. The collaborators are specifically for the visiting fellowships, which are the longer 12-month collaborations. Let me see. I think that's all the questions that I have. I mean, we welcome people from all career stages, and everybody from any career stage is entitled to apply. I think for the travel grant, we do want to encourage applications from early career researchers for whom opportunities might be fewer and farther between. Yes, for the travel grants, so I see that, what happened, there's a question about late career researchers and whether they can apply. Yes, absolutely. I would apply, I would think about the fellowship. Obviously, as I explained with the visiting fellowships, we want to see evidence of a clear research trajectory and an active research trajectory. Travel grants, we are looking specifically at early career researchers and mid-career researchers, but the visiting fellowship absolutely is open to people in a later career stage. I think I have answered all the questions that I have them, but please just send any through. I don't know if anybody has any questions about Oxford proper, but I should say, I don't know if how many people are familiar with the Oxford system. The Oxford system is very unique because people say, where is the university? The university is all over. The University of Oxford is comprised of about 34 to 36 colleges, which are self-governing institutions within the city of Oxford, and that all sit and share their academics with the Central University of Oxford. So we ask, don't worry about colleges too much. The college that is most closely affiliated with CaribOx is All Souls College, which sits right in the middle of Oxford town, in one of the most picturesque areas of the city. But when you look for collaborators, I would definitely look to the University of Oxford website, and that's www.ox.ac.uk, and then see within the University of Oxford website the different faculties. The University of Oxford has different divisions, so as in many other universities, we have a division of humanities, a division of medical sciences, of material and physical sciences, and we also have a social science division. Within that, we have different departments or faculties. So what I would say is just do your old Google search or within the University of Oxford website, and that way you can see what people are researching within each department, each faculty, and within the wider divisions. Do I have any more? There is a question of the length Well, the visiting fellowships are held for 12 months. That is January to December. Now, 10 months of those are virtual. So the first term, which is what we call the winter term or Hillary term, that is a month. You can have your collaboration by correspondence, email, but you will have all forms of online access to the University of Oxford systems, libraries, etc., to the different online resources. The visit to Oxford, the in-person visit to Oxford, is in the summer, between late April and early June, and that is what we call our Trinity term, our summer term. That will be in person. And then when you go back home, you will still have another few months to engage with that Oxford system virtually. We will still have access through the university card, and you will have a university ID that will give you access to all kinds of online platforms. I have a question. Thank you, Denzel. I just saw that. So yeah, I think that if you are a PhD student, you are absolutely eligible to apply to a visiting to the travel grant system, and that's again 2 to 4 weeks. Just while more questions stream in, I think I should also mention that for people especially who are thinking of applying for the visiting fellowship, the successful applicants will have to demonstrate support by their institution for their visit to Oxford. And one reason that we picked a summer term is because we know that that is possibly the term in which people are just have more freedom to travel and are not kind of stuck, within their institutions with any teaching or anything. So that's why we thought the summer term would be the best time for people to come over. There is a question about labs. That is like I said, we are open to all disciplines, and with the lab-based work, I think we would need, we would first want to see the relationship to the Oxford collaborator established. What kind of, if you're doing lab-based work, which department are you working with? Which team would you like to be associated with? And I think in that conversation between the team and the applicant, we can figure out the time, the time that we will have to factor in for the rental of lab space, etc. But we have to treat those on a case by case basis. Any more questions? Okay. Any idea, any questions about housing? I can say a little bit. Like I said, All Souls College has provided our current award holders with living, which is, Oxford colleges, while we are, most colleges are in the central part of Oxford, they own properties that are more like the more suburban areas of Oxford. But Oxford is incredibly well connected via buses. And there's also Uber, and there's taxi services, so people are very well connected. I think our fellows have really enjoyed cycling into the center of town, and they have been able to get cheap bikes. There's bikes absolutely everywhere in Oxford, but if that is not your thing, I think it's really good to think about walking or taking buses. Also, college will also provide meals to the fellows. So our fellows right now have really enjoyed going to lunches and dinners, which are basically available to the fellows free of charge. So that is a really useful thing to know, that you will be well taken care of throughout the 8 weeks of the Trinity term for the visit. Any more questions? Just waiting to see if people. Think I've answered, well, I've just looked at 15 different things that people have typed. All right, well, I'm going to give people just a couple more minutes. Obviously, if you have any questions that have remained unanswered, we are very much looking forward to hearing from you. At our email address is CaribOx, CARIBOX at torch, torch.ox.ac.uk. And we are more than happy to answer any questions you have. No question is too small. No question is too big, I guess. But we're very much looking forward to hearing from you very soon. And remember, the deadline, the 19th of September at 5 p.m. British Standard Time.